Blood Money episode 25 with Dr. Cordie Williams, and we discuss standing up to evil. All right, we're on Blood Money episode 25 today. We have a very special guest, Dr. Cordie Williams. How you doing, Dr. Williams?
I'm living the dream, man. I felt like I was in a Matrix movie. I love it. I love what you guys are doing, man. It's awesome.
Oh, you're talking about all the graphics and all that stuff?
All the graphics, man. I'm honored. Seriously. It's great to be on the show.
Travis chose like really emotional music for that one. I was like kind of moved by that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know whether to I was gonna say crying never came over me, but certainly running with an AR-15, taking a hill, standing up for the Constitution. Yeah, kind of when Mel Gibson holds the flag at the end of the Patriot, stuff like
Seriously.
that. Sure.
Seriously. So the topic of this episode is standing up to evil, inspired by you, sir. So tell us about your journeys in terms of standing up to evil.
Yeah, well, I mean, it really started when Adolf Newsom and the merry band of misfit morons started the I'll say that because I don't want us to be censored, but AAB or the COVID SCAM, as I call it, when all that nonsense started, the flesh-eating bacteria with a 99.9% survival rate. I'm a holistic chiropractor, and I'm married to a smoking hot New Yorker that, has the same value system that I have, which is the body's a self-healing, self-regulating organism, Vem. And if it's not healing, there's got to be a reason or there's got to be a cause. And certainly a flesh-eating bacteria with a 99.9% survival rate, we smelled the stuff in the air in March of 2020, my wife and I did, and it wasn't potpourri. So we started doing protests around the state of California. And the third protest, we say it's her fault that I got this freedom bug up my tail. I had a video that went viral where I talked down some riot gear police, ended up getting 21 million views. The Scoop, David Harris Jr., the Hodge twins, they all pushed it. And we just didn't stop. We went on the road since then. We've probably done over 100 rallies, partnering with people and ones that we funded as well. I've been in multiple states numerous times. I was gone 3 weekends out every month for probably 2 years, and then kind of took all that energy, felt like God was calling me to run for U.S. Senate, cackling Kamala's old seat. And I got 500,000 votes, third place out of 23. It was called jungle primary, where Democrats and Republicans face off against each other. And, the Republican swamp in the state is the reason why we didn't advance to the general. So
really?
That's
What kind of things happened during that process that, in terms of the swamp not wanting a candidate like you to be in power?
What's that? I'm sorry, Vem.
What happened that you're saying the Republican swamp was the reason that candidates didn't have success in that state? What are some of the shenanigans that were going on with that?
Well, I can't speak for every state, but I'll certainly say it's true in California, and I know several. Whether it's the Jersey area that Ian Smith is a part of, that state, the district he ran in. I could name many more. They're kind of skipping my mind right now. Ohio's another one. The way it works is, in this state, there's a guy named, I believe his last name is Munger, Charles Munger. 20 years ago, he spent, somewhere in the neighborhood of $50 to $120 million, from what our reports have said. And he bought out the 58 county central committees. And I don't know how politics works in other states, but I'm pretty sure it's fairly similar. And the central committees are the delegate votes, essentially, that prop up the state convention that lead to endorsements. And endorsements are a big deal when they come statewide, GOP-wide, because usually in our state, they're worth about $2 million just in advertising. So when Charles Munger did that, what he did was he started to own the central committee leaders. So he owned the delegate votes and the proxy votes at the convention. So 16 years ago when a scumbag named Kevin McCarthy came in. Maybe he wasn't a scumbag back then, but very quickly the swamp turned him into one. And he's extorted America ever since. So don't be fooled, America and freedom fighters. He was backed into a wall by Matt Gaetz. He was backed into a wall by the fabulous 20, as I call them. And that's the only reason he's doing anything patriotic, anything that's good for this country, because he doesn't have a choice. The moment that becomes unpopular for his political tenure and legacy, he's going to go back to his same old rhino ways. Believe my granddaddy always said, when they mother F you or punch you in the face, believe them the first time. Don't wait for them to do it a couple other times. So at any rate, basically when they took over the proxy votes, the delegate votes, they've had a cabal kind of ran by McCarthy. He's behind the scenes and under the tutelage of a lady named Jessica Patterson and their CEO, Brian Watkins, that kind of looks like a security mall cop that probably should just be governing over 90-year-old ladies in a mall somewhere. But he's the CEO, and they're just you couldn't find a state party more corrupt than this one.
Wow. So while you're out there, having received national recognition for standing up to these COVID mandates, what did you discover during that journey? I mean, where are we right now in terms of this timeline of COVID-19?
Well, do you mean what I learned personally, or kind of what I learned about the COVID scam, or all of it?
All of the above.
Okay. Well, I learned that we have a society that is very confused. I learned that we have a society that doesn't critically think. And I learned that there's a huge passion of people out there that honestly believe in this country, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people that suffered a lot of loss during that time. I also learned that there's a lot of people that don't care anything about the country, and they saw this as a business opportunity. There's a lot of grifters out there. There's a lot of people, selling T-shirts, acting like tough guys on stages and behind keyboards, but they don't have any practical solution-oriented idea that leads America into a different future or a new beginning. And I also learned that, this game is fought or lost. Well, I'll say fought, lost, and won by the piggy bank. Really, if you don't have money, if you don't have big donors, whether you're a nonprofit, whether you're somebody trying to get the message out that has a podcast or a show, or a candidate, it's a very unsustainable venture, and it's very difficult. It's very hard. We've kept the stovetop on for, over 2.5 years, and almost cost me my marriage, my kids,
Wow.
practice. So we're really in a rebuilding phase right now, and looking at our next venture, which is going to be candidates classes, to really help engage candidates so they avoid some of the pitfalls that I ran into, which is just there's extreme corruption, Ben, extreme corruption.
I mean, somebody was telling me that essentially the first step that any candidate has to do is to clean up the voter rolls, because it's between elections where essentially they reintroduce a lot of names that shouldn't be on there in order to swing the balance with the fraud. Is there any truth to that?
Yeah, no, I think that's really important. I mean, if I got elected tomorrow, that'd be the first thing that I would put out there and that I would propose. And certainly if I was in Congress, I would want to get a consortium of different congressional representatives backing me on that idea, because I think it's, oh my God, it's necessary at a federal level. It's necessary. From a federal standpoint, I don't know how we would influence the states to do that. There's the power of the purse always. And obviously Kevin McCarthy has talked about that. He talked about that last week. Subpoenas, the power of the purse. That certainly creates a lot of pressure. But no, I do think any candidate, if we're not doing that as a country, if that's not the U.S. Senate's objective, if that's not a state objective, if that's not a candidate's objective, like, what are we doing? We're going to keep losing elections. And you saw that in Arizona. But I think also the thing we have to wake up to is, you know, the power is still in the hands of the people, and state, county, statewide races, even though I ran for a federal race, what I also learned, to go back to a previous question, is that's where like our power is going to come from. I think the swamp has got hold of the government. I think the swamp and big money and big interests have control of these federal, national offices and national races.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think it's a scary proposition. I want Donald Trump to win in 2024. We'll see. We'll see. Nothing's really changed from our
Mm-hmm.
um, election process since 2020, and
Yeah.
that frightens me. That absolutely frightens me. And I would say too, um, uh, going back to I lost track. I was into that, man. I was into the moment. What was your question again? I wanted to go back to it for a second. The original question you posed.
Oh, about good question. I was kind of following what you're talking about, and about let's get into the topic of this nonprofit that you set up, because that's kind of where I
Oh,
was going. I
candidates.
want,
Here's what you said. No, I
yeah,
got it. I got it for both of us. You said,
yeah.
what's the first thing a candidate should do? Or kind of, I
Oh,
think you
cleaning up the voter rolls.
cleaning up the voter rolls. What I would
Yeah.
also say though is really around the classes, man. Yeah, I think day one cleaning up the voter rolls would be what any candidate should put out there. But also, I think before we even have that conversation, I think we got to back up and say, how do we get candidates elected that are America first, pro Constitution candidates? And I think that conversation is around educating them of, the pitfalls of the consultants class, this Republican consultant class. I mean, you couldn't find a bigger parasite or leech than a political consultant, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The mainstream media, some news channels, I think probably Real America's Voice, the Gateway Pundit, possibly Newsmax reported on this shortly after the primaries. But I mean, there were so many candidates, including myself, that were fleeced of large amounts of money. I'm talking in my case, thirty to
Wow.
$60,000, where they were promised by a consultant to do A, B, C, and D. The consultants throw in a Hail Mary. They have no clue what they're doing. They're lying to you the entire time. They're not all like that, but it is a scumbag industry.
So,
So, these classes I talked about a second ago, Vam, I think, they really need to be designed to fast track the candidate past a lot of the minutia and BS that a candidate could potentially get stuck in.
what are some of the bold points in terms of what you teach for new candidates?
Yeah, well, we're outlining the curriculum right now, but one of the first episodes or modules that we want right off the bat is kind of the nuts and bolts part of becoming a candidate. You need to start forming these teams or committees. You need to have a finance committee. You almost need a pastoral committee, or a committee of people that help you get in with the churches, some of these
Mm-hmm.
huge mega churches. The backing of them is important. And then the donor class, the Lincoln clubs and the different Republican Orange County organizations were very that kind of operate in very affluent circles.
Mm-hmm.
And then you also need to start to establish, going along with that financial committee, you need to start to have a script, and you need to start knowing how to raise money. If you don't know how to raise money, your campaign's dead from day one. And in about 5 weeks, we raised $100,000 just
Wow.
off my phone list, just off my
Wow.
phone list. And I think starting there, I think that's what a lot of consultants and candidates miss out on. Before we go to the list of national donors, start with friends. Whether you talk
Mm-hmm.
to them, 5 years ago or 10 years ago, you need to be prepared to ask them for money, and you can't be bashful about it.
Yeah. You were at the AFLDS press conference less than a week ago, and you had kind of some choice words about where we are currently with this whole pandemic, or scamdemic, or whatever. and where we are going. You want to tell us a little about that?
Yeah, no, I got the invite from you and Travis and Joey Gilbert and Kevin Jenkins, and I was really honored to go. And I think that it's wonderful what organizations like AFLDS are doing, and so many out there that are fighting for just the Constitution and medical freedom. And you see around the nation, and especially in the Las Vegas, Nevada area. But I mean, the real pandemic is these cardiac arrests that are happening, and these cardiomegaly, whatever, these strokes, these cardiac issues that are happening at a massive rate in perfectly healthy people that in many cases have been forced to get vaccinated when they're in the least affected group of those that were impacted or affected by this farce COVID scam. This virus with a 99.9% survival rate, in which there's so much evidence to show that the CDC's lied multiple times. OSHA's lied multiple times. OSHA changed their standards for when you could don a mask or take off a mask or not put on a mask. And early on in the COVID scam, there were very clear indicators of that we didn't have to wear a facial condom, and then all of a sudden, that's down. You couldn't find that information anywhere. But yeah, I just think that what we were trying to do at that press conference is really just shed light on, hey, parents, you need to watch out. Hey, Americans, we've got a huge problem. And that problem is that we don't have enough people pushing back and standing up at what's killing people daily. Who gets elected today? Who gets, elected tomorrow? Illegal immigrants. All those things are important. But, when your 13-year-old dies catching a football, dies on the field, a perfectly healthy human being before, and that's happening at a massive rate. And as Dr. Bill that was there said, Dr. Bill, I can't remember Dr. Bill's last name, but as Dr. Bill pointed out, 7 million people are receiving the jab or the shot worldwide daily. 7 million are still getting jabbed. And that should frighten everyone, especially with the rate. I mean, Elvis Presley's daughter just died yesterday, 54 years old, cardiac arrest. People with no pre-existing issues with heart trauma or cardiovascular episodes are dying
The amount of excuses though is insane. I mean, they're like, oh, was she a drug addict? And every time something like this happens, you get this army of people coming up with all sorts of what ifs, except for it's the vax,
Yeah, and it's insane to me that the average American, and I always try to get people over from across the line, but I mean, if you're still getting vaccinated at this point, you're a moron. And that's probably not a Christian thing to say, but and God help you. Because if you've got kids and people that love you and care about you, and everyone out there does, it's not that you're just playing Russian roulette with your own life. You're affecting so many other lives around you. It's such a selfish, non-critical thinking decision to say, okay, this hasn't even been tested out on rats, and I'm going to put my life and my future and my children's future in the hands of the pharmaceutical industrial complex, because they have my best interest in mind. I feel like an idiot even saying that.
Yeah. And they got these like hard shots now to stop, like, I guess, or slow down the effects of myocarditis, which I guess a few days ago the news of that came out.
Yeah, it's like let's take one shot. People that are killing people, now I'm going to take your advice on how to reverse that you might be killing me. I mean, it's insane, man. And chiropractors, Vem, we've been talking about this for decades, man. Decades we've been talking about, again, the innate intelligence in the body. It comes from the brain. It goes down the spinal cord, goes out on every single nerve to every cell, tissue, organ. so the heart can beat, the lungs can expand and contract. And really,
Mm-hmm.
like, life is that simple. And when we try to put duct tape on a ship that is already sinking, instead of getting to the cause of how the holes in the ship came about, like God help us. And that's what we've done from a sick care system, because we don't have a healthcare system in this country. We have a sick care system that's propagated by lies. It's
Mm-hmm.
propagated by the FDA. It's propagated by big pharma, the medical schools, and the COVID scam the last 3 years is another example of this demonic attack on our kids, and really Americans around the country. And Americans need to get informed. They need to start to critically think, and they need to take responsibility of their number one asset, which is their health.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Cordie, it's I know you have you had to be out early today because or we got it looks like we got another 7 minutes, right? You got to be out by 6:30 or
Well, I do, because I'm taking little Cordy and a Reese Peasy, my 4-year-old,
okay.
and my smoking hot wife. We're going to dinner.
Oh,
So,
okay.
well,
All
I'm
right.
sorry I got to jet out, but that's
No,
why.
no worries, no worries. But a couple of more questions here since we got a few more minutes. I was going to ask you, where do you think this is all going to go? I mean, do you think there's ever going to be any justice for all these people that were scammed, harmed, their kids dying? I mean, what do you think? What do you think the future holds?
I think it's possible in states like Florida, states like Texas, but people don't understand how in bed some of these political circles, influencer circles are, man. I mean,
Hmm.
and they don't understand, like, the people with testicular fortitude or ovarian fortitude, that
Hmm.
that is like a dying, like, men that are alphas and actually still carry a set. Those are few and far between. And there's just so many greedy, money hungry people that are not servants. I mean, I always said when I went into practice, to give, to love, to do, to serve out of a sense of abundance, expecting nothing in return. And that's what my chiropractic school, Life University, taught me.
Hmm.
And we just don't have anybody out there in the political realm that's willing to take a stand for those dead kids, those dead babies, those moms, dads, grandparents that died, because they got the shot. And I don't know, man.
I
It's
mean,
it's
how do we
I mean,
get
I
to
don't
such
have
a
the first
pathetic
promise that we've
place?
had. Sorry, go ahead, Van.
No, I was just wondering how we got to such a pathetic place. I mean, it's insane with like kids dying and people not like standing up and just. I mean, it's just. I guess we've seen it happen in history a lot. You know how genocides and stuff happen, but yeah, I don't understand how
Yeah,
we got here.
no, I mean, I think we got here just because people started putting their lives, their livelihood, and their future in the hands of big government. And we got complacent, we got comfortable. And to be honest, the whole time they were using the 45
Hmm.
points of communism, and they were slowly trickling that in, and it was like a very Trojan horse type of attack. And we just didn't see it coming. And here we are, finally, 2015, 2016. We really start to wake up, with somebody that really exposed it all. In my
Hmm.
opinion, whatever the viewers out there think of Donald Trump, I think he's the best president in U.S. history. But whatever you think of him, you can't deny that he exposed some huge, huge, huge problems
Yeah,
at a rapid rate, resolved many of them. And oh my God, where would this country be without somebody with a set of balls like Trump?
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, scary places.
Yeah, and it was also, I mean, I think one of the things that doesn't get talked about much is how I think we reached a certain pinnacle around the early 2010s in terms of disseminating information that was never available. And I think that's part of the reason why they freaked out so much. And that's probably why Donald Trump was elected, kind of like a populist candidate, because we actually had freedom of information at its highest point before they pulled it all back.
Yeah, no, that's a really valid point. That's a really valid point. And it's, you know, uh, you look at what's happening. And I even think back in my head, I was visualizing 2016, and, that's when my first son was born. And, I remember late at night, um, uh, listening in some of the debates between him and Hillary. And she
Mm-hmm.
goes, well, it's so funny that a man with the temperament of Donald Trump, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, because you'd be in jail. And I just remember screaming and shouting because there was this man that just did not care. And all he cared about was saving America. And, you know, I'm going to vote for Trump again. I pray the political oceans haven't swayed him or the big interests haven't gotten him to any degree, because, you know, it's a really easy thing to do, I think, Vem, because you want to change the country. You honestly believe that God's put you in a position to do that, but you have to get elected to do it. 2020 was stolen from him, and now everybody's against him. And it's just, politics is a crazy world. I could talk another half hour about that, because the term limits need to be in there, because what happens is all the compromises you have to make in politics, any man or woman out there, unless you have God behind you and you have a lot of moral conviction and character, you start watering down making deals that you think are in the best interest of the country. Pretty soon you look around and the only people standing around you are scumbags like Kevin McCarthy and Mitch McConnell.
Exactly.
Eye patch.
Yeah.
What do they call him? One-eyed bandit? I don't know.
Oh, that's right. What's his name? Can't remember the guy's name. I know you're talking about, though.
I know what the ladies call him. They call him Tiny Tim, but
that's funny. Cool. Well, I think we're getting right to about 6:30. So it's been awesome having you. I do definitely want to have you back. I think there's a lot more we could dive into. We barely just touched the surface, and yeah, it's thanks for making the time for us here.
No, I'm honored. You guys are studs. Please share this, like this, guys. Put it out there. Follow these men. Follow Studio 17 Media. Just epic human beings that care about freedom. They're not out here to steal your money, sell T-shirts, or grift. They actually want to change America. So it was an honor, Vem. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Honor to have you, brother. Just want to remind all the viewers that tomorrow at 6 p.m. Pacific, tomorrow, Saturday, January 14, 6 p.m. Pacific, we have Thomas Renz. And boy, we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff, because Tom's been busy all over the place, fighting election fraud, fighting Fauci, suing everybody. And we're going to talk all about it. So tomorrow, 6 p.m. Saturday, January 14th on Blood Money, Thomas Renz. See you on the next episode.